What's up, Soul Nation? Brian here, and today we're talking about the director's cut, essentially part 3 from the Destiny team. This is from Luke Smith, and he started writing this essential novel. We're going to go over it and give my thoughts as I move along. Obviously, you've probably seen part 1 and part 2. Didn't cover it because I've honestly been waiting for part 3. As a recent returnee to the Destiny franchise, having taken off since the Curse of Osiris, I have really thrilled to be back. But there's still a lot of questions and there's still a lot of adjustments that the entire community at large really is aware of. So it starts, okay, I started writing this director's cut and I figured it would be an easy couple thousand word post. My plan was to rapidly look back at the past 6 months of Destiny 2 and lay out a simple outline where we wanted to go this fall. I think I still did that, but I ended up wanting to talk more about the why, the team, and share how we were thinking about Destiny. I remember following games when I was younger and being excited to dig into the messages the developers put together, like Toggle's post on raids and dungeons back in my WoW days. And I loved it. I loved reading those posts. Maybe this all was a love letter, a long-form communication, a relic from a time before all hot takes, 100 to 280 character posts and upvotes. I didn't think this would add up to something longer than almost every paper I wrote in college, but here we are. Before I get to today's programming, I want to circle back on reloader mods and also about mods more generally and armor this fall, in case you missed any of my Twitter thoughts. In general, these mods will provide the exact same effect as hand cannon reloader, but also affects other small arms and weapons and costs 4 to 5 energy depending on the mod, and do not have an elemental affinity associated with them. These general mods, of which there are 11, are unlocked for everyone automatically, so you can start to tinker right away. Basically, when you want to specialize your weapon, it requires matching your armor's energy type, and then you get the energy discount on socketing the mod. Thanks for all the questions on this. Let's finish this series by looking at combat, where the action and the RPG collide, and being the conversation about the single evolving world portion of our vision. We'll have more on the evolving world later this month and after their feeling has returned to my fingers. So combat, the inevitable conclusion of the action in the RPG. We want the game to be an awesome power fantasy where challenge can push back on its players. As we discussed in part 1, the game started to bend in year 2 under the weight of its power and Destiny's imperative that it was ride the line between action game and RPG. This section is going to explore that collision across a variety of places, the UI, the player character, and of course PvP. Part 1, the damage numbers. Destiny 2 was built with very different goals in mind than was the much improved version of the game we're playing today. Some parts simply weren't meant to last for several years. One of those parts is the display damage values relative to the player's power level. This problem clearly manifests in players with a frequency of 9,999,999 showing up in your HUD. As a post-Forsaken year continued, the curve that dictates the values of display damage sharpens into a hockey stick. The display values for Shadowkeep rocket off the graph and become almost vertical. This inflation for damage is getting retooled this fall. It will look like a UI number squish, but more crucially, behind the scenes, we're setting up the damage display system to last. It's important that you understand we're not nerfing your outgoing damage, rather we're refactoring the display number game-wide. We've also had something that, over the years, the team has come to call the immunity wall. This is the value where players cannot damage the AI. In the game today, if you're 50 power below the enemy and you shoot it, you will do a big old donut. Another change that we've made up this fall is that we've lowered, quote-unquote raised, the immunity wall to 100. That means that you can now deal damage to enemies that are up to 100 power levels below. The at power, you and the enemy are the same power level experience isn't changing. This isn't a nerf. This is the way that folks will take greater challenges by fighting further below the power curve. Now part 2 on buffs, debuffs, and stacking rules. You know it, I know it, and Glad knows it. The way damage stacking works in the game right now is busted. Multiplicative damage combines and the exponent damage inflation above descend damage numbers into soaring heights. We cannot continue this way. We've taken all the weapon damage buffs. These enhance the power, the player's outing damage that can appear on a character's and stacked rank their damage effects. These are the effects like Empowering Rift, Well of Radiance, Luminous buff, the top tree void Titan's Weapon of Light. We've also overhauled the system under the hood so that the damage calculations use only the most powerful buff on a player at a given time. It's not nuanced to it, though. It's got nuance to it, though. If you're under the damage effect of someone stronger than Well of Radiance and you still receive a healing effect from the Well, but the damage bonus would come from the other buff, i.e. or e.g. Lumina and Weapons of Light. We've made some changes to the debuffs as well. A debuff is an effect that weakens the enemy. We've touched the effects and durations of the numbers of them. These effects include Hammer Strike, Shattering Strike, Tractor Cannon, Shadow Shot. Shadow Shot will now work on powerful weapons as well. In general, one of the ability buffs can be active on the player at a given time. The enemy can be affected by only one debuff at a time, where noticeable exceptions are in the form of exotic weapons and amplification perks, Kill Clip, Rampage, etc. The exotics and the weapon amplification perks will remain multiplicative increases to damage above the ability buff values. Here's a simple version. Buffs that apply to a single weapon, Rampage, Kill Clip, exotics, can still stack. But buffs that affect all your weapons no longer stack. The most powerful of those buffs will be applied to your damage. I'm sure someone is going to make a video that shows this in action on October 1st. So part 3, supers everywhere. Masterwork guns, super mods, orbs everywhere. Right now, for a pretty decent player running super mods, it's time to take to gain super is under 2 minutes in PvP. Right now, for a pretty decent player running super mods, the time it takes to gain a super is under 2 minutes in PvP. If you compare the duration and damage of roaming supers in Destiny 2 to roaming supers in Destiny 1, you'll see that they're more powerful now than ever before. We didn't even have the roaming Arc Titans in Destiny 1, but every time I play PvP, I get killed by one twice in the same super. Similar to the way that deep down we all know the damage dealing capacities of Guardians has gotten out of control, we know that supers have too. Destiny 2 was overly restrictive at launch, but now the pendulum has swung too far in the other direction. We're going to start bringing this back towards the center and Shadowkeep. On the live stream a couple of months ago, I mentioned that we're lowering roaming damage super resistances, and we are. Seeing someone pop a super should not instinctively make us want to run away, give up, or float off the map. We want super kills to feel earned. We want players to, on the business end of a super, to feel like they can make it in a big play and put down that striker titan. To be able to challenge someone in their super is important, and right now many of the supers are very, very hard to challenge. On top of that, more things than ever now contribute to players getting their supers back. So we're going to do some tuning there as well. Supers will not just be as powerful, but they will be more strategic choice. As such, we're reducing the effectiveness of orbs and refueling super meters and reducing super energy gained from kills and assists. So choice right there. This isn't a PvP problem. Remember the series of The Reckoning Part 1? It's all related. Supers are still very, very powerful in the PvE game. Players will just need to be slightly more specific with their timing and positioning than in the past. This kind of tuning is a pendulum, and we've swung it hard in different directions, and we're hoping that these changes will bring about a better middle ground for Destiny 2. I know you'll let us know your thoughts once you've played it this fall. Part 4, heavy ammo availability. In Destiny 1, heavy ammo became an in-match rally point for 6v6 matches. Once open, players nearby could get some heavy ammo, and in Destiny 2, heavy ammo is a jockey for position speed before need looting game that gets played all the time. In Destiny 1, heavy ammo felt metered, and in Destiny 2, you can defeat a team, but not an Arc Titan, multiple times with a brick for Hammerhead. See where this is heading? We're making changes to the heavy ammo in Destiny 2. Heavy ammo will be communal in 6v6 playlists, and we're also reducing the amount of ammo per brick in PvP for certain 6v6 archetypes. It's not exactly the same as D1 though. When a player cracks open the heavy crate, other players will have a window of time to interact with it to get their heavy ammo. Part 5. Let's talk about PvP. There's been a lot of conversation internally and externally at different points during the year around the support Bungie provides for PvP. On one hand, we have continued to tune the game each quarter, adding pinnacle PvP weapons. That somehow ended up as a pinnacle PvE weapons, trying out a ranking system in the Crucible, and returned the game to its 6v6 roots. On the other hand, we haven't released any new permanent game modes. Many game modes from Destiny 1 are nowhere to be seen, and there isn't a public-facing PvP team. And the last real thing we said was Trials is staying on hiatus indefinitely. Let's get this sorted out. Trials of the Nine wasn't the hero we wanted it to be. We made too many changes to the formula that, while it had begun to decline in Destiny 1, wasn't as flawed as we thought. When we were making Destiny 2, we thought a lot about making sure it felt like a sequel, bringing in new players and simplifying the game. Then Trials of the Nine created another casualty here. It happened on my watch, and if I could turn back time, I'd challenge us to do many things differently. If nothing else, I hope it's clear that we're committed to learning from our mistakes that we make and making it right. There are some really cool parts of the emissary. Some of the gear that was pretty potent, dark as before. But the theme felt weaker. The Trials card was less important, and the stakes felt lower. Trials of the Nine didn't work the way we had hoped, and Trials of the Nine is on hiatus indefinitely. So why are we been quiet about PvP? Well, we didn't have a lot to say. We weren't actively developing some to hype up. We knew PvP was going to be something everyone got for free in New Light, so it wasn't really a part of the Shadowkeep core offering. What are we doing about PvP became a question we were asked internally, too. A bunch of folks on our team were passionate about PvP and wanted to know where it was heading. PvP is the need of some quality of life improvements and restructuring. This fall, with New Light hopefully bringing in a bunch of new folks to Destiny, and with our existing players looking for some updates to PvP, we will start making significant changes to the PvP portion of the Director. Today, it's a fine balance between adding playlists and maintaining a healthy populations where we're looking at changes to the playlist structures. We want to achieve a couple of goals. First, we want players to have some more agency with respect to pick a playlist and play a mode. And second, we want a playlist to drift back to everything as a factor of 3 that Destiny 1 used, and that the rest of the game mostly uses. Player counts being based in common number, like 3, is important. It enables a bunch of activity options for groups of friends to get engaged with. In Destiny 1, players could run a couple of strike groups, team up for a raid, or go play 6v6 PvP. Split up and go do 3v3 PvP, etc. at launch. And Destiny 2's 4v4 PvP completely broke this pattern, and we want to reset that bone with PvP this fall. We revised the playlist a lot, and here's how it's going to work. We've removed the quick play and competitive nodes from the Director. If you're looking for an experience like Quick Play, we've added Classic Mix, a connection-based playlist like Quick Play today. Classic Mix includes Control, Clash, and Supremacy. Competitive is replaced by 3v3 Survival, which now awards Glory. We also added a Survival Solo Queue playlist that also rewards Glory. We've added a 6v6 Control as its own playlist. With the potent influx of new players this fall, we want to have a playlist that signals new players that this is where to start. We feel like the 6v6 Control is the right starting place when introducing new friends to Destiny. We've added a weekly 6v6 rotator and a weekly 4v4 rotator. These rotator playlists where modes like Clash, Supremacy, Mayhem, Lockdown, and Countdown will appear. We've removed some underperforming maps from matchmaking too. We've also been working on 4 variants of 3v3 elimination. They include different approaches to revives, token resurrection or not, and variations on how heavy ammo works. Elimination is going to make its return in Crucible Labs. However, Elimination is very much unfinished. It's missing VO, and there are no unique medals associated with it. Between the missing polish and the 4 variants, we'd like to have your feedback on Elimination for the time being. It's a great fit for Crucible Labs, and we fully expect to graduate out of Labs and find a warmer home. We wanted to make sure that we could test Elimination on some familiar maps, so we brought back Widow's Court and Twilight Gap. We want to play with you, we want to watch you play Elimination in this combat sandbox, and we want to see how it all fits together. We're also changing how we do matchmaking. With a bunch of potential new players entering Destiny New Light, we don't want PvP to feel like you're being told it's time to learn to swim as the helicopter door opens over the Pacific Ocean. So we've made some changes to separate the new swimmers from the Olympians. Additionally, we've also taken a longer look at matchmaking and overhauled the skill matching system. In the game today, Quick Play is the only playlist that doesn't have some version of skill matchmaking in the game. We're preserving that behavior, connection matchmaking, in the 6v6 Classic Mix playlist. Here's where it really gets annoying about skill match. When it's overly restrictive, it's fatiguing when every single game feels like a sweat fest, and when it's overly loose, a player can get an entirely evening of unlucky matching RNG where they're getting dumped on by squads of Terminators shredding Kindergartenians. A bad time for the Kindergartenians. There is much more complexity and nuance to the evening of PvP than the 2 statements above, but they do actually capture the core problem, or lack of match-to-match verity. Sure, a bunch of Terminators, a night of stomping might be a blast, but what about folks on the receiving end of that business? This is where it gets tricky to improve matchmaking. People generally tend to focus on their own experience in the feedback. We think of variety across the evening of PvP is important. This fall, skill match should ensure a wider variety of matching regardless of player skill. Some matching should be tense and thrilling, while other matches should be stomps. This philosophy should also apply to top players, so they don't feel like every match is a sweet how either. We factored how players gain glory ranks in these skill match changes. We're factoring in your skill value to the glory gains and losses, so that the number can be more effectively representing skill. We've also made a number of quality of life changes to glory, valor, and infamy to make losses less punishing to your streaks. Once the above changes go live in October, we'll be watching, listening, and reading to check them out. An evolving world. There is an aspirational version of what evolving could mean for Destiny. Someday, Destiny could become a dynamic world where the world changes each season. We want playing Destiny to feel like you're playing in a game world with true momentum, a universe that is going somewhere, a game where things are happening. It's not just in terms of how items and activities are also team of narrative. Its frequency seemed like Destiny was treading water in terms of moving the world's narrative forward. We want to tackle this in Destiny 2's third year. During Season 8, a new situation will unfold on the moon, being a cagey here only because I'm reluctant to spoil anything. Over the course of the season, parts of the game will change before the situation culminates in the event it will ultimately resolve it. I cannot say that for some reason. And content will be exhausted. But this resolution sets up the events of Season 9, in which, again, odds somehow new to the game and resolves it. Something that, too, will go away, but not before setting up Season 10, etc., etc. This differs from last year's annual pass, which permanently added activity to the game. This year we'll see events like the last 3 or 4 months offer new rewards to chase, although at the end of the period some of the activities will go away. For a time, the rewards will too, but also acknowledge that the part of playing Destiny is collecting all the stuff. So future seasons and the weapons and legendary armor that are associated with these seasonal activities will be added to the other reward sites. I alluded to some of this when we were looking back. The game continuing to grow forever isn't something that we can support. Destiny's simulation, fidelity, and architecture fundamentally make it a big game. And I've seen a lot of Game X does it, why can't Destiny? But the referred games and ours have very different technical profiles. Technical limitations aside, we also don't think making a game that grows forever is Destiny's path forward. This is why the second component for the vision is a single evolving world. To clarify, that single evolving world doesn't mean that there's only one destination on the director, and that's not where we're heading. You were there with your friends, you got your gear and your weapons, and you remember it by, made the memories, and changed alongside Destiny. In late August, we are going to talk more about the annual pass and how it's going to continue to evolve. Now, closing time. If you made it this far, thanks. I think you could probably write another 10,000 words about this game. The fall is my 9th working year on Destiny, and at times it's felt way longer than 9 years. There have been dark days. For you, for us here, and certainly for me. But this year has been special. It's been a lot of fun talking with all of you and getting to try some of the different things, whether they are a stream where I tuned in up, turned up showered because my hot water went out in the morning, or a Twitter promise that turned into a way too many words. The Bungie team has worked incredibly hard, and we're excited to get Shadowkeep into your hands that drives and hard drives in October. Big thanks to them for their hard work and also for helping me put this together on a cosmically tight timeline. Many emails and work-related IMs were sent during the construction of this message. Thank you for playing, reading, and being a part of the community. See you soon, Luke Smith. This was an epic email or love letter to the community. I really particularly enjoy the PvP aspects and the changes. I'm very excited to go hands-on with them here in October. It's very exciting to see how it unfolds, and we'll have to only wait to see what it really feels like when we go hands-on with Shadowkeep. Guys, let me know what you're thinking. Thanks for hanging out with me. If you hung out this entire time, really appreciate it. Hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Whoa, you guys are the best. Jorge, Kyle, Philip, 31 Edwards, Rock Druid, Corey Longwith, Aaron, Axis, Hambone, Lady Wild Plays, CN Navs, this is going too fast, Christopher, Phil, Shun, Dragons, Soul, Keen, Knights, Assassin, Carlos, Sherry, Robert, Leyland, Davon, Tim, Jojo World, Terrace, Sora, Scrublord, Trevor, Mill, Almond, 70s, Kimber, Tyler, oh my god, I'm so sorry, Cody, Legend, Carlos, Endless, Jonathan, Jade, Sai, Derek, Brandon, Aaron, Riku, Daryl, Chemistrol, Lauren, The Wolf of the Gar, Kelly, Anthony, Solid, John, Scree. Oh my God. Everybody, Dark Later, Christopher, Vestman, Sean, Nopi, Brian, Tom, Dylan, Silent. Whew. I missed your names. I'm sorry. I love you all. Oh my gosh, that was tough.